Welcome back to Andersen Acres. If you've been following along for a while, you'll know we've already talked about raising ducklings in a brooder, where you are mom, essentially. Ignore the kittens. but when you're raising ducklings in a brooder, you have the sleepless nights and the temperature checks and the endless feed refills and the quiet panic every time one of them sneezes or when they're taking a nap and you think they're dead. You know, all the fun parts. But today we're going to talk about the opposite situation when Mama Duck is in charge. She's got the instincts and the attitude, and usually a much better success rate at keeping her babies warm than we ever could. Still, there's a lot you can do to help her out because while ducks make wonderful mothers, they also have their moments. And sometimes they can't count. They don't realize that they have lost some of their babies. Okay? Now, every duck is a little different in the mothering department. Some are total helicopter moms, barely letting the ducklings out from under their wings, and others seem to go, "Oh, right, those were mine." Yeah. And, once or twice a day, you're like, "Seriously, where are your children?" So, if you've kept ducks for any length of time, you've probably seen the entire range, from the overprotective diva to the chill, figure it out yourselves type. The key is knowing how much to step in and how much to let her handle all on her own. So first things first, housing. When your duck hatches a clutch, you're going to want to give her a safe space just for her and the babies, if you can. Think of it as a maternity ward, predator-proof, duckling-proof, and weather-proof. I like to use a pen that's enclosed on all sides with fine mesh because, trust me, ducklings can squeeze through holes that look way too small for them to actually get through. But I've also let mama free range with the flock. So the downside of free ranging with the flock is there's more danger, including your own cats. When the ducklings are really little, even the best of cats is going to think they're a snack. So you have that problem, and it's easier for mama to lose them in a big space like a yard. So judgment call, right? But you will lose more free ranging. So when it comes to the actual enclosure, you need small wire because you'll be amazed at how creative these little guys can get. Okay. It's like watching feathery Houdinis in training. It's ridiculous. 1 minute they're under mom, the next moment they're outside the pen trying to eat a bug 3 times their size. It's nonsense. So make sure there aren't any gaps that they can slip through and keep that pen locked down against raccoons and rats and anything else that might fancy a duckling snack. Because ducklings are quite snackable. And it's your job as the duck keeper to keep them alive. Even though mama's in charge, you still got to keep them alive. Now, that space also needs shelter from the elements. So the pen you have them in, they can't just sit out in the weather. They need shelter. Even with a good mama, heavy rain and cold and wind and blazing sun can be rough on little babies. A roofed section or a sturdy shelter gives them a place to dry off and warm up or nap in the shade. And for the most part, in that first week or so, Mama Duck will do most of the work. Okay, she'll hover over them, wings spread like an umbrella, keeping them warm and safe. It's adorable, and you're probably going to find yourself sitting there and watching them for hours. Don't worry, we've all been there. You tell yourself you're just checking on them, but really, you're just sitting there all day. You're checking on them all day. It's your job, right? You have to check on them all day. It's the job. So let's talk about food. Because ducklings can eat. They hatch ready to eat, just like chicks. And mom's going to show them how. Offer a waterfowl or all flock starter feed that's crumbled or moistened, something that's easy for those tiny little bills to manage. I like to use shallow dishes so the babies can reach, but not climb in and make a mashy mess of it. The mother duck, on the other hand, gets her own dish that's a little deeper. That keeps her from hogging all the baby food or scattering it everywhere. And she'll try. That's kind of part of the charm. Ducklings also benefit from fresh greens once they're a few days old. Chop up some tender grass clippings or dark leafy greens into itty bitty bits. No long strands. You don't want anyone choking. Hanging a little mesh bag with a piece of fruit out of mom's reach is another great little trick. It'll attract fruit flies, and the babies will have the time of their lives snapping at the bugs. They love bugs. Bugs are good for them. It's adorable to watch, and it's a great little enrichment activity. It'll keep them busy while mom enjoys her own snack. Now, water. Well, as much as ducks love water, this next part is really important: water safety. Ducklings can and will drown in surprisingly shallow water if they can't climb out. So, even though your first instinct might be to give them a big bowl to splash in, resist the urge at first. Stick to chick style waterers or shallow dishes with stones or marbles in the bottom so the babies can safely drink without falling in. You'll also want to keep an eye on mom. If she decides to hop into a big pan to take a bath, she can accidentally drown or crush her babies. Doesn't happen often, but it can happen. So, better to prevent it than deal with heartbreak later. Once the ducklings are a bit older and sturdier, you can start introducing them to supervised swim time. A kiddie pool works pretty well for this. Make sure there's an easy way for them to get out, like a brick ramp or a shallow slope, and only let them swim when it's warm out. Ducklings get chilled fast, even in the summer. So pick a sunny day, keep it short, and let them practice those paddling skills. It's a joy to watch, and Mama usually can't resist joining in. Now, as they grow, you can start giving them some outdoor time in a grassy area. This is where the magic really happens. Mama Duck will start teaching them all the things we could never really show them: how to find the bugs and what tastes good and what's dangerous, and how to follow her voice. Watching a duck family forage together is one of those heartwarming farm moments that just never gets old. You'll see the babies mimicking her every move. It's like a feathery little kindergarten class. That said, keep that area safe. Ducklings are small and irresistible to just about every predator around. Cats and dogs and hawks and even overly curious drakes will sometimes take them out. So keep a close eye on the babies or use a secure run until they're big enough to hold their own. A little caution now means a much higher rate of survival later. And yes, I know, if your ducks are anything like mine, they're probably going to complain about being confined. They don't like it. You can practically see the side eye every time you walk up to the pen, especially from Mama. But it's worth it to keep everyone safe until those little wings can flutter over trouble, or until they have a little smarts and understand how to get out of the way. Hi. So, one of the best parts about letting a duck raise her own babies is how much less work it is for you. Because it is less work for you. She does the brooding and the teaching and the nighttime cuddling. You just have to make sure she's got everything she needs to do her job. Keep the area clean, food and water fresh, and step in only when necessary. It's a much more natural process, and it's a joy to watch. You'll see the ducklings grow faster, learn quicker, and develop those healthy instincts that can be hard to teach when they're raised in a brooder. And it's kind of fun to see the family dynamics at work. You'll start noticing which ducklings are brave ones and which are crybabies, and which one somehow always manages to end up muddy no matter what. Every family's got one. And around here, we call that the Andersen Acres spirit. Curiosity first, consequences later. Now, eventually, those little ones are going to grow up and they're going to outgrow their maternity pen. And you'll need to think about moving them back into the main flock. There's no exact date on the calendar for this. It kind of depends on the weather, their size, mom's attitude, and the dynamics of your flock. Maybe your flock's great with babies. Maybe they're not. You have to take that all into account. Usually by the time they are 4 to 6 weeks old, you'll start to notice that the ducklings are feathering in nicely and not hiding under mama every time a leaf blows by. That's your first clue that they're ready for the next step. When the time comes, reintroduction needs to be slow and supervised. Ducks are social, but they also have a pecking order, or I guess in this case, a quacking order. The older birds may want to remind everyone who's in charge. and they'll start being kind of mean. It'll look not great sometimes. So you're going to start by letting the family range near the main flock while still separated by a fence. That way everyone can see each other and hear each other and squabble through a fence instead of actually attacking each other. Do this for a few days, maybe a week, until they seem calm around one another. When you finally open that gate, stick around to play referee. Most flocks sort things out with a few grumbles and some wing flapping. But if you have drakes, keep an eye on them. Adult males can sometimes get a little too enthusiastic about the newcomers. And if you see anyone chasing or biting at the babies, separate them, try again in a few days. Usually, once mom gives a few warning quacks and puffs herself up a bit, the others get the message and settle down. Also, the larger your space, the less problems you'll have. We have very few problems when it comes to integration. Cat on the microphone. But we have very few problems when it comes to integration because we free range. So once we introduce the babies, everyone can go their separate ways if they don't like each other. If you have a more confined area, you could have a few more problems. Okay? Now, you'll know the transition's been successful when everyone's eating together without fuss, and the ducklings are confidently mingling with the older birds. At that point, you can officially retire the maternity pen and let them join the daily farm routine. Splashing in the pond and digging in the muck and stealing snacks whenever your back is turned. You can do all that. It's a wonderful full circle moment, from the first tiny peeps under Mom's wing to watching them waddle off into the flock like they've been there all along. And it's a reminder that sometimes the best thing we can do as keepers is simply to make space for nature to do what it does best. Now that's about it for us here today at Andersen Acres. Drop a comment below if you've ever had a duck raise her own babies. I'd love to hear how it went for you, the good, the bad, the slightly ridiculous. I'd like to hear it all. We'll see you tomorrow. And the cat's going to eat the microphone.